and the different styles of music he plays, with
Yes.
with the Seeger sessions, when he was solo, and just Western Star is a whole nother genre,
Yeah.
so to speak. It's just amazing, how he went from being somebody who was looking for a job as a guitarist when he was 16, and now, you know, just super.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Set Lessing Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson, and joining me is a new friend that we met via social media, Bud McLaughlin. Bud, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jesse. Glad to be here, man.
Yeah, I am so thrilled you're joining me. So tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I'm was semi-retired, but I'm a editor of a business journal here in Huntsville, Alabama. It's a monthly publication. We do newsprint and online, so we're touching the past and the present with it. And I'm also a part-timer with our minor league baseball team we have here, the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And their inaugural season was supposed to be this past spring or summer, but this little coronavirus, and so our inaugural season was called off 2.5 weeks before opening day. So just going through the motions now, operating a store and trying to get ready for next season.
The Texas Rangers had the new ballpark this year.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, it just broke our hearts that you couldn't go there. Then it very weird, right? They ended up hosting a World Series.
The World Series.
Which is just makes no sense whatsoever.
You're going, this isn't fair. I can't go there. Why do these out-of-towners get to go there before me?
Absolutely. And so we love, my son and I love going to the minor league park. I think my wife will, say, really, do we have to go to another ball game? I'm like, yes, this is fun.
That sounds familiar.
Yes. What was funny is we were in Memphis, and they have a beautiful little park right there in downtown Memphis. It's just a great facility, and but it's a St. Louis affiliate.
Right.
And so all the pain of the Rangers losing to St. Louis, it just was like, oh, it's too soon. And in fact, we had driven up from Dallas up to St. Louis to attend a kind of bourbon dinner. And we went through the Arc, and we did a lot of, the things that you would do as a tourist, and you could see the baseball stadium, and I was like, too soon, still too soon. Yeah. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed that you get a season next year, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were kind of optimistic then. Whatever broke loose the last couple of weeks, and we're back up. In fact, higher numbers than we were back in the spring. So it's really semi-disheartening, but you gotta have hope. I mean, this is the land of hope and dreams. Oh, sorry.
No, it's true, bud. And we are all pulling for better days. Right. It's interesting. I was just watching MSNBC earlier this evening, and they had one of the medical guys that said right now only about 55% of people are wearing masks. He said if we could get that to 95%, we would save 75,000 people from dying.
I mean, I don't understand why. I mean, why not?
Yeah, I don't get it either. Yeah, and so how are you? You've touched on a little bit. How are you and your family doing during this COVID crisis?
We're doing fine here. I've got a son and a daughter-in-law. And they've got three kids, and their youngest, he's just turned 2.5. He had a couple heart surgeries in his first year of life, so they do not see anybody. You know, we have drop offs when we go see them and keep our, you know, they're like in a not to say in a compound,
Yeah.
but you know they're making sure they don't have any chance at all of getting anything because of Ian.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
other than that, I've had I have another son. He and his family were sick, but they didn't have any of the adverse, you know, really bad effects of it. They live about 200 miles southeast of us or southwest of us, and but they're doing fine. So we're knock on wood and all that fingers and toes crossed. We're holding our own here.
Well, very nice. I am glad to hear it. So, you know, Bud, I always like to start at the beginning. So, talk to me about where you grew up, and you know, was your family musical? Did you guys listen to a lot of music when you were a kid?
I grew up a town called Pennsville in New Jersey, and
Oh, okay.
exit 1A. It's and it's right at the Delaware Memorial Bridge, across from Wilmington, Delaware. So we're a river town in South Jersey. It's basically downriver, about 25 miles from Philly. And so music wise, my dad not so much. He was a factory worker, so and but my mom, she had the transistor radio going in the kitchen with Tom Jones and Frank Sinatra, and as she used to refer to it as my Inkerdink, Engelbert Humperdinck, and
That's
and in fact,
funny.
and and she really loved the Christmas music that the local radio station would play. And when she passed about 8 years ago, she left me her Frank Sinatra collection and a couple of Inkerdink albums. So, but
That's nice.
I was you know I was in the high school and junior high school band from seventh grade till I graduated. French horn or in the marching band was the mellophonium, which is basically a French horn straightened out.
And so, when you started reaching high school, what was your music taste? What did it develop into?
The first record was a 45 I bought was Immigrant Song by Zepp, and then my first album was Black Sabbath Paranoid, and my second album was Grand Funk Live. And so you see where my
Yes,
music
absolutely.
we're
Yes.
heading. This was I was this was 69, 70, so I was on that path, and then I was touched a little bit by CSNY, Crosby, Nash and Young, and particularly the song Ohio really struck a chord with me, and so that turned me, with them, and also helped mold some of my political leanings as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. And about when are you going to high school? What time frame?
I graduated 73.
Okay, so I graduated in 77.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, close, but also different eras.
Yeah.
I was a lot more pop and disco. So growing up in Jersey, by the way, how did you get to Alabama?
Well, I was went to Auburn University, and what it was, during my high school years, I worked at a supermarket called Acme, which was the big chain in South Jersey and the Philadelphia area. And I also worked for my junior and senior years in high school at a pharmacy, a local pharmacy. So I was struck by how that profession was. The owner was a friend of my mom's, so I said, well, maybe I'll go major in pharmacy. I had already been accepted to a college in Western Pennsylvania for political science because I was looking at pre-law, just your typical junior, senior high school, didn't know where I wanted to go. So I just applied for pharmacy, went to the guidance office in my high school in alphabetical order, looked for colleges that had pharmacy, and Auburn University was A, and I said, okay, that's neat. We've been to the South. To me, when we had family vacations, it would be Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So that to me was my Southern experience. And I applied and got accepted and ended up going to Auburn University. But by March of my freshman year, I had changed curriculum. My chemistry and I didn't get along.
I can imagine. Yes, that would be. I was thinking that sounds like a hard major. So that's funny because I almost asked you at the beginning, like, okay, Alabama or Auburn.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's
Now
get
you
right.
know.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. It's funny because I grew up. My dad was in the Army, moved around a lot, but by the time we settled, it was in Louisiana. My
Oh,
grandparents had a dairy farm, and it's strange because like everyone's an LSU fan. They're
yeah.
just
Yeah, the league doesn't even exist.
yes. My favorite joke is half of the LSU fans didn't graduate from high school.
Oh, yeah.
Much less from LSU.
Well, that's the sidewalk we call a lot of Alabama fans are same way. They didn't go to
Yeah,
Bama. They've never been to Tuscaloosa. We call them the sidewalk fans. And
yeah.
when Nick Saban leaves, it's going to be interesting how many of them still have those flags flying from their cars.
Yeah, it is. It's a very interesting. It it was interesting, and I promise listeners we'll get back to Bruce. But when I moved up here from my wife and I got married in '84. In '86, we moved to Dallas, and I had never really experienced the passion of college football,
Oh, my, yeah.
because there's A&M and there's UT and there's Baylor and there's SMU and there's Texas Tech, and it's just all this factions and this fandom,
Right.
and it's funny, right? Like you'll hear someone call a sports station ranting and they'll go, okay, hold up, before you say anything else, what's your allegiance? Well, yeah, I went to A&M. Okay,
Yeah.
like, okay, we got to know where you're coming from. And so that's interesting.
But yeah, that was an eye opening when I went to Auburn because in Jersey, um, pro sports are
Yes.
dominant. I mean, my high school and the conference we were in, we played our high school football games on Saturday afternoons, and you
Yes.
dare not do that in Texas or Alabama or
Right.
down there. That's a not right.
Yeah, exactly. It is absolutely. Well, so you're growing up in Jersey, um, but early.
Hmm.
So when did you discover Bruce, and how did you?
It was after my freshman year. My best friend in high school went to the University of Delaware, which was like 10 minutes from our hometown in Newark, not Newark, Newark, Delaware. And he told me about Springsteen. He was learning about him there, and so it was in '74, August or September of '74. I was still home for the summer from Auburn, and there's a bar made out of a church in Newark called the Stone Balloon, and Bruce was there. Was having a show there, and John, my friend John, said, "Hey, let's go see, here's the guy I want to show you." And so we went there, and it was struck right away. It was just amazing that how just a few tunes, and all of a sudden I'm going, well, forget Sabbath, forget forget Zeppelin. I know where my music's going now.
Can I always ask this question, and it sometimes it's difficult to say, but can you say what about his music spoke to you?
Um, I think one of the things that spoke to me was his size. you know, he was a skinny 5'9" ish, 5'10" ish guy, just like me, and
Right.
and so I could really, he was the first person, famous person. So he wasn't famous yet, of course, but who I could relate to. And then a couple of his songs, they were definitely about the shore, and because we would go to the shore, we'd hang out in a place called Wildwood, and which was just about an hour south of Asbury on the Jersey Shore, and those things were what he was talking about, and they related just as well, and it was just there was just something about it, just some, I don't know, magical is the word, but
Yeah.
there was a commonality in there.
So, Bud, you jumped on the Bruce train pretty early then,
Yeah.
right? So, um, have you have you has he been consistent, your fandom?
Oh, yeah, and especially with Letter to You.
Yeah,
I well up when I hear something, because I can relate. Ghosts, Power of Prayer,
yeah,
and Letter to You, Last Man Standing. Because Last Man Standing kind of relates because my friend John passed several years ago.
yeah,
So and of course Ghosts. I'm 65. I'll be 66 in a couple months.
yeah.
So I'm seeing that as it goes along. So yeah, he and then when he his other earlier before when he talked about his hometown, and then growing up, and that's all it all struck a chord. And then Born in the USA, I had a draft number,
Hmm.
um, but I was fortunate that I didn't get it called. It was the 003, and at the time they were looking at taking the first 10,
Yeah.
and and that really struck a chord with me, even though it was 15 10 15 years after the draft. It still
Yeah.
resonated.
Did so I always this wasn't on the agenda, but can I'm always fascinated by people that were there kind of at the beginning of the journey, and like how did you feel during the dark periods, right? Like he fires the band, he moves to Los Angeles, and all of a sudden there's no new albums, he's not really touring. I mean, what were your feelings as a fan back then?
I was nervous because I thought, wow, is it over already? I mean, you're just hitting the apex. That's how I thought. And then or is that what he's thinking, that okay, I've reached the pinnacle. I'm done now. But that that just didn't seem to be like, that didn't seem to be the guy who was writing these songs, that he would quit there. There's got to be something more. And so it was, I won't say I was fishing around to find somebody else to fill the void,
Mm.
because he had the previous albums and records. But yeah, it was strange, and it was and very much welcome when when he started coming back, and then when had the big reunion with the band. You could see it happening with every now and then somebody would drop in on a performance or such and say, okay, maybe he's not done.
Absolutely. And I had a I had a guy join me just a few weeks ago, Daniel Broderick, and he talked about that when he was attending the reunion shows, 99, 98,
Mhm.
99, he's like, okay, this is it. This will be like, they've come back, they've had this massive tour. Maybe every few years they'll get together and pull everyone together and do a tour. But, this is, as you mentioned, the apex. This is the culmination of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. He said, if you had told me in 99 that what the next, you know, 15, 20 years would bring, right? That
Yeah.
you would
Yeah.
have the Rising, you
Yeah.
know, Magic, Seeger sessions, worldwide tours, Western Stars, Letter to You, Broadway. He said, I would not have believed it.
Yeah. And it's like, I guess, a second wind he had.
Yes,
And so the reunion tour, and really, as strange as it sounds, 9/11 may have reignited his passion for writing,
I think
um,
so.
because that had a cause, and then things politically got murkier and such, and so he was able to relate to that, and the way, it was almost like his beginning roots, with the economy and with families, and it was the same thing. And here he is in his 40s and 50s, and going, oh my God, it's happening all over again. And he has this well of of words and music that's just waiting for him to put the pen to paper, and he's able to spill it out for us.
And you know what I think? is really fascinating. Um, I've had this discussion with a couple of people. Is if you like, there are people who are true Sinatra fans that will talk about the phases of Sinatra's career and his voice, and there are really talented Sinatra impressionists who can change their voice and sound the different eras. And I often think of, you know, Bruce keeps having the errors. There was the early years. There was the superstar, the Born in the USA, maybe the River, Born in the USA, and then you kind of think, okay, well, you've got the uh, Renaissance, and now then Elder Statesman, because like with Broadway and then the Western Stars film, but then Letter to You. And I know this may be blasphemy to some people, but there are songs on there that you go, oh my goodness, I could see this. This stands up to a lot of his earlier material, and this is fascinating album that someone at 70, to use it, still has his fastball, right? Like he still can do this.
And he and as you know too, 3 of the songs were from his, and he's able to incorporate that. And they work.
Yes.
And 40, 50 years later, which is just, I mean, that's strictly amazing.
Yeah.
And he does. Yeah, he still has his fastball, and he brought it too with Letter to You. And I think too, I was really enthralled watching the documentary, just seeing how they work behind the scenes and such. And that's opened a whole new vista, I guess, to see the work that goes into it, and to see those guys, and again, I see them, they look like me, they looked like me 50 years ago, and then we all look the same again, and so traveling that same path together.
Yeah, you see them all. Like Bruce has his reading glasses on. You see Gary got his glasses on. They all have legal pads with pens.
That was really cool when he's just drumming on the guitar and they're writing the lead. And I've been a writer and such, and covering sports events and stuff. And after games, I'll talk with the coach, and I'm there with my pen and paper. And others are there with holding their phones or holding their tape recorders. And somebody actually took a picture of me doing that because I'm that's the way.
Yes. Well, and supposedly, right, the story is either one of them, like either Gary or Max or one of them, said, hey, instead of you recording these on demos and we come to the studio and try to beat the demo, right? Because, why don't we try it this way? And I thought it was fascinating to see him playing on the guitar. And there's a scene, and I mentioned that to Maureen, right, where little Steven, he looks like Silvio, like when he's saying, oh, you know what we need to do here, boss. And you see that's their friendship and relationship is in that. And I think everyone shines, but I think Max especially shines on this film and this album.
It just shows how much work he does on each song, and how it's, I mean, he is rhythm, and it's just the condition. They talk about how Bruce's condition, because of the 3.5, 4 hour marathon. Well, he's got this guy behind him who's been swinging his sticks all the time, and you see that in the documentary. And I don't think I was more impressed with any of the band members about the work they do in recording than seeing Max. I mean, it was just amazing.
Yeah, it was, and it was just really neat to hear them talk about. I always like to preface this next question with a, kind of a caveat that the amount of times you've seen Bruce is not a fair barometer of how big of a fan you are. It could be in your age, your economic situations, where you're located. But do you have a rough count of how many times you've seen him?
I think it's a dozen, and it's been all over the board. Delaware, Alabama, Virginia, Tennessee, Georgia, um, just different places. But the first concert, I won't count the '74 one as really a concert because that was the nightclub venue.
Yeah.
But the first concert was in '76
Hmm.
when he came to Auburn,
Yeah.
and that's an opportunity I had to actually meet him in the band too through a little hoax I had pulled on campus.
At this point, we had a slight technical glitch. Bud and I lost our connection, so we reconnected and we take up our conversation from where we were. All right, so you were telling me that while you're in college, Bruce comes to Auburn,
Yeah,
and you had a chance to interact with him in the band. Please
right.
tell that story.
Yeah, yeah. What had happened? Back then I was just 21 years old, but with a beard and longish curlyish hair, and that was his era.
Yes.
And so, and and a couple of my fraternity brothers said, I was telling them about the music and playing the songs for them, and they said something about a resemblance. And so we got some wild hair, and one of my fraternity brothers was in a band, and there was a battle of the bands, and he made an announcement. So we said, okay, let's try something. So he made an announcement that Springsteen was going to come to campus before the show and walk around and just take a look at the venue.
Hmm.
It wasn't going to be him; it was going to be me.
Oh, how fun!
And had a couple of my fraternity brothers as my quote escorts. So
Hmm.
I had the floppy hat and everything and the beard and earring. I was and again we're the same size. And
Yeah.
so walked around campus, went to the main building on campus, main classroom building, signed a couple autographs, got interviewed on the campus radio station.
No way!
Yeah, yeah, it got out of hand.
Wow!
and and so then when showtime came, my date and I we went to the arena, and I had leather jacket, um, jeans, the floppy hat again, and we went walking around because I was looking for the guy, the student government guy who organized the show, to see if, hey, is there a chance that you can that I can meet Bruce.
Yeah.
And so I was looking around, I was asking people, nobody saw that his name was Skip, nobody saw Skip. So I took my date and I, we went around the back of the arena, and there's a bunch of guys out in behind there throwing a softball, baseball around, and I just hear, hey, Bruce, look at this. And then I just froze and said, oh,
Yeah.
And I went walking over, and it was the band, and
Hmm.
they were all just started laughing, and then he comes sauntering up, and I won't forget this. He's wearing a yellow Bad News Bears T-shirt and green Army fatigues,
Right.
and so we're eye to eye, and I said, hi, how you doing? He said, fine, how you doing? In his way.
Yeah.
And then I asked, did you hear what I had done? He said, yeah, and it's cool, and then I hear Steven go, look, even the noses. Because we both had same,
Yeah.
and we both looked at him, and so that was a hoot. But he invited us backstage after the show, and during the show he went into the crowd, and I was sitting by the sound guy, and the sound guy was waving to him, so he was going to come up to see,
Yeah.
and but he didn't get up there, and and so then after the show went and talked with him and had him sign. I had the Time and Newsweek magazines, and he and Clarence signed both of them.
Oh, how
And
cool!
then one of the things, Clarence asked if I wanted join him outside for a little smoke, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, no, thank you. He said, wow, just like Bruce. and then, but the highlight, or maybe a thing that I semi regret, asked me if I wanted to go with them to join them on the next leg. They were going to New Orleans, and I said, no, I've got class. and to this day, I'm going, I'm not an A student. I'm not, the opportunity of a lifetime to go on a tour bus with them. But yeah, that was a
That
little
is a great
little
memory.
minute with him. But
Yeah. Did anyone have a camera to take a picture?
yeah, there was somebody there taking a picture, but this was back in '76. So it's
Yeah.
so anybody who had film, one of my fraternity brothers took pictures of it. Nobody did of us meeting. It was because it was just
Yeah.
my date night there.
Yeah. And back then, right, there's no camera phones, there's no
Exactly.
thought. It just and in a way that's kind of makes it more special that it's just in your memory alone.
Yeah, and so that was neat, and that just further strengthened my my following, or so to speak, or
I can imagine. Did have you ever met him again?
no, never have. I been to the shows. The closest I got was when on the Tunnel of Love tour in Atlanta. I covered it for my local paper, and
Okay.
so I did photos and write up, and so we were allowed at the foot of the stage for 3 songs to take pictures, and then we had to leave and go to our seats. So that was the closest I got, and I got a couple good shots of him, and but that was about it. Maybe one other time in Virginia, had my youngest son, or my oldest son now. He was my only son then, and the band was playing at the Scope Arena in Norfolk.
Yeah.
And they drove up, came in just a van going to the back way, and my son and I were there and just waved, and it was hard to see because they had the tinted glass windows.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were the only 2 closer rushes, so to speak, with fame.
Well, it's kind of hard to beat though your initial meeting and have a chance to talk to him. And I do think, right, that this older Bud wants to go back in time, tell young Bud, look, you can miss 3 or 4 days of class. It's okay.
Don't blow it.
I'm sure your mom and dad were very proud of you to be that conscientious of a student.
That's the word. Yeah.
Yes.
Conscientious.
That is great. Any other special moments during shows that you've attended, or stories? It sounds like you've gone with your son, and
yeah. My oldest son went. He went to the show in Norfolk. My middle son and I went to a show in Birmingham in 01 and 02. I don't remember if it was 01 or 02, but it was that tour. And I can't remember. Marianne, who's the singer that you're related to? He pulled Emmylou Harris up on the stage.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I was just yelling to my wife. She's
Yes.
She's my producer.
Yes, I understand. I will tell you, the first time I saw him was in 2002 in Dallas, and Don Henley joined him on stage.
Oh, wow.
Because Don Henley lived in Dallas at the time, and they did I Fought the Law, right?
Oh, man.
And so during the Wrecking Ball and kind of with the High Hopes tour, right, they were in Nashville, and I just knew someone was going to join him on stage, right? It's Nashville.
You think that. Yeah.
And no one did, and I can't say I was disappointed, but that would have been very cool for Emmylou Harris to join him or see that. That's neat.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, and that's really the. I've never been in the pit.
Yeah.
Always had a seat. A special tour we had was in 2016 when he did the river tour, and I took she's my wife now. We married later that year, and then that was her first time seeing Springsteen. She was a fan, and the funny thing about that, just a row behind us was my daughter-in-law of my oldest son and her mom.
Oh,
and this was in
nice.
Atlanta. Yeah, and so that was, and yeah, we had no idea they were
Hmm.
there, so that was it was, and that kind of shows how he affects, just generational. I went to a show in
Yes.
Nashville, and my son and his wife, the same daughter-in-law, I saw
Yeah.
them there, like two sections over, and I had no idea
Oh, that's
that
great.
they were going to be there.
That's
So
good.
yeah.
So do you have favorite albums? You've already talked about how much you love Letter to You, but do you have favorite albums or songs that have meant something significant to you in your life?
Um, yeah, like I said, growing up, my hometown, when in the live version of War, just the sheer emotion in that song, and then when he has the lead up, because blind faith will can get you killed, and
Yeah.
again going back to the '60s and the '70s, and but I guess album wise, it just Born to Run. It just struck a chord from beginning to end, um, and I think that'd be the one album wise. It
Mhm.
just resonates. In fact, I'm trying to figure out which song for to play for my funeral.
Yeah. We are reaching that point. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, and you mentioned something earlier about how 9/11 may have revitalized, or re-energized. I also think one of the things is taking that break and then doing the Rising tour. I think a lot of baggage from the past of the band was gone, and
Yeah.
so now then when they get together, there is just this joy of playing together. I don't know about you, Bud, but when I was at I ended up getting to go to four of the Full River shows in
Oh, nice.
2016, and you watch them play, and there was a joy, and it was this, they realized the road in front of them is shorter than the road behind them,
Yeah.
right?
They were having fun again.
Yeah, and just enjoying, and this saying,
Yeah.
and I think, like Maureen said, I don't know if this is, there is no plans for this to be the last album that the E Street Band does, Letter to You, but there is a sense of hopefulness, but also a sense of reviewing and seeing the past, embracing that past in this.
Exactly. Yeah. That is a good way to look at it, because you have the retrospective, but then like you said, the road ahead is shorter
Yeah,
than the road behind.
absolutely. So, but if we get a chance, and we will one day get another tour, are
Yes.
there songs that you haven't heard him do live that you are on your wish list?
Well, one of the ones that I finally got to hear was Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Okay.
Because it was just the timing of the show, and that came in Nashville, a
Right.
Nashville show. Um, I think I've only heard, well, no, I can't say I only heard Born in the USA once, because I saw that in Virginia. Uh, I haven't heard Kitty's Back,
Okay.
and that's one of those fun songs too. Hearing the live versions lately, and see, I can see them just having a good old time with it. I finally heard Rosalita just a couple of times in the shows, because I know he had stopped playing that song, and
Yeah.
but that was one of my favorites. In fact, I did that in a lip sync contest with a friend of mine who did the sax part.
Oh, how fun. That sounds really fun.
And yeah, we I had a fun mini tour doing lip sync back 85, 86. Um,
Nice.
and but yeah, so that kind of has a special thing. But yeah, I think Kitty's Back, and I don't know if I've heard Growing Up in concert. I probably have, but I think now it would mean a whole lot more than it did several years ago.
Yeah, I can see that. Do um, you know? I really am. I'm curious. Like, they've announced that they're going to do, as we're recording this, it's the first part of December. This will probably come out toward the end of the year or maybe into January. I'm trying to book some shows in advance, but
Mhm.
they're talking about, they're playing Saturday Night Live, and there's
Yeah,
the speculation of what are they going to play,
that
and
yeah.
I'm excited because when they did the River box set, they played, and they did Meet Me in the City, and and they closed with Santa Claus is Coming to Town. So I'm
Right.
I'm really curious what they're going to do.
Yeah. You'd almost have to assume they would do something Christmassy, at least one of the songs. And
Yeah.
the one I just saw that somebody had just put out that he did Blue Christmas.
Yes.
That man, that was just I guess the shows that did it at the Carousel uh,
Yes.
years ago, and that moved to the top of my uh, Springsteen Christmas song.
Oh,
I had a Merry Christmas Baby and
yeah.
Santa Claus Comes Down. Just the way he did it, and the way they were all just watching them all
Yes.
have a good old time playing it. And
Yeah. And, Ken Rosen talked about that on his blog, right? That's
yeah,
actually
yep.
the official last time Clarence played with the band,
Yeah, and
which
that's
gets it.
that's what got me to watch it too. Seeing because
Yeah.
I saw the first show without Clarence. That was in Atlanta,
Okay.
and that was really really surreal. They had a spotlight on the stool where he would be sitting,
Wow.
and his sax was on the sax holder, and then he also had a spotlight at Danny's keyboard.
Hmm.
So that was people were going, well, okay, how are they going to react? They blew the house. They broke, knocked the house down.
Yeah.
They really did a great job, and he did not shy about bringing Jake out, letting Jake
Yeah.
take, and it's like he I guess he had to let Jake know, okay, you're one of us, you've got it.
Yeah. And I do think, and I think, that, originally, right, the Wrecking Ball tour, you had the horn section, and
Yeah,
then during the River, they were able to Jake, and I thought that was a neat moment too in the documentary, right, where he says, Jake Clemens' initial recording session with the E Street Band, and you got to thinking, that's right,
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
he's toured, but they have not recorded.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, yeah. You had to take a pause. Go, yeah, because that was a and that was good that I know there were some folks saying, well, why isn't he on there more? Well, there are several albums that Clarence doesn't have a whole lot of parts, and so there's the going on and on. That, oh, are they leaving him behind? Or,
yeah,
just chill.
yeah. I was. That's good. So okay, Bud, what have I not asked you that I should have?
Um, I don't know. Let's see.
Okay.
Um, I don't have a notepad, so
Okay. No,
I.
that's okay. Um, I do have to ask you, based on some of your answers, um, I, I, I get the feeling you are a blue ball in a very red state.
Very man, yeah. Oh. In fact, my congressman is Mo Brooks, and I don't know what you've seen
Oh
that
my
he.
goodness!
Oh
Yes,
yeah. What?
yes,
And he made the news lately because he's saying that he's going to be one who's going to question the count, which would.
yes.
And I'm going, holy cow. Yeah.
Well, here in Texas, right? I was just telling my wife, and I apologize, listeners. We'll get off politics in a minute, right? But I, I, I wrote both to Ted Cruz and John Corwin the hypocrisy of you guys didn't feel, Merrick Garland didn't even get a hearing.
Yeah.
And then Amy Barrett Cohen, whether you agree with her or not, I mean, the idea that let's be consistent, right, in the
Right.
hypocrisy.
Right.
And both of them answered the emails with, all her qualifications, and just we were proud to vote her for her.
Well,
And I was just like, at least own it. At least say, yeah, I could see why you're frustrated that,
yeah,
but
yeah. I mean, you weren't questioning her qualifications. You were questioning why
yes,
the timing. I mean,
yeah,
what's good for the goose should be good for the gander, so to speak.
absolutely, yes. My wife says this all the time. She's like, we live here in Texas. We are, uh, just we are, like, she's like, we need to live in Austin. Austin is a blueberry in the strawberry state, and so
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and so yeah, I had to think that that's got to be interesting. This has been great. Before I
Oh,
let you go, we got to ask you the Mary question. So. Uh, Jay Armstrong is an honors English teacher in the Philadelphia area. And every year, he takes his seniors and they spend 2 days studying Thunder Road, going through the lyrics, talking about the imagery. They talk about the themes of the song. They compare it to Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken, among
oh,
other
wow.
things. And then at the end of the 2 days, Jay looks at his class and says, "Does Mary get in the car?"
I
So
think I've seen a T-shirt with that on there, haven't
yes, there is. So,
I?
Bud, that is your question. Does Mary get in the car?
Does Mary get in the car? I think she does.
Okay.
I think she does. It's um, because that just would enhance her ride, and it would answer her questions about the driver of the car.
Hmm.
And I think it's obvious that there is some chemistry between between the hero and Mary. And so
Yes.
I think she does, particularly since I'm just stretching that. I'm saying it's a convertible, so she doesn't have to worry about being in a car and not being able to get out if the hero turns out to be just a really weirdo.
I like that angle. I like that angle a lot. That's good. Good. Well, thank you, sir. This is perfect. If someone wants to reach you, how can they?
My emails, I can give that. It's Bud McLaughlin 7, BUDMCLAUGHLIN 7 at gmail.com. And I've got a Twitter. My Twitter account is Bud33, BUDD33, and Facebook, which is how you and I have connected.
Yeah,
So I'm on Facebook too.
that sounds great. And what are you working on? You were talking about your writing, so
I'm editing a couple stories for the next issue of the Huntsville Business Journal. We've got a Wahlburgers opening up here, which is the hamburger joint by Donnie, Mark, and their brother Phil. And Huntsville's getting really big. We've got a couple of developments going. So that's basically what I'm doing now, and I'll do the occasional blog for the city. They have what's called City Blog, very fitting.
okay, yeah,
And I've done some pieces for that, and
okay.
that's about it. Outside of reading and seeing what's going on your like you said, MSNBC and
Yes, absolutely. And
Rachel rocks.
yes, it does. Rachel does rock. Yes, we do. We Joy, Nicole, and her were just the three of them were just
Oh.
amazing. Just watching that, and so yes, it's very very fun. So that's great. Thank you, Bud. This is amazing. I appreciate your time, sharing your stories. I can only imagine young Bud signing autographs in the student center. Yeah, man. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for liking this. Yeah. Yeah.
I look back, go, I can't believe I had the huevos to do that. I mean,
Oh
that's just
yeah.
it's just crazy.
Well, I could see you doing that till it started getting that, like, okay, look, hey, I've got to stop, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is it. And there's probably someone that like, oh yeah, I met Bruce. He was at the student union, and
I
so
know. Yeah.
But you
Yeah,
had nothing but love in your heart for it.
oh yeah, yeah, and the campus paper did a story. The headline was "Fake Singer Fools Students." Very very alliterative, and had a picture of me, and you know,
Oh,
and but it was yeah, it was just a trick. I was maybe get a couple more people went to the show because of that.
that's nice. I think what we need now is some way to get to Bruce's people and go, okay, back in the 70s you offered me a chance to ride around, so I got a rain check, can I use this now?
Can I cash it in now?
Yes, exactly. So that sounds great. All right, thank you so much, sir. Listeners, you please stay safe. Remember to social distance. Remember to wash your hands. Remember to wear an effing mask. We are going to get through this, but the only way we're going to do is by being smart and taking care of each other and being good to each other. But for now, be good, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening. This podcast would not be possible without the love and support of my listeners, and specifically my patrons. Thank you very much to Levi Petrie, Elizabeth Bronson, Stephen Malio, Holly Mack, Steve Rogers, Dale Hosick, Terry Smith, Anna Lynn, Chris Bloom, and Mary Thomas. Thank you all for your support. It is greatly appreciated.
You just heard the fun talking, hard rocking, music loving, album ranking, fan thinking, joy spreading, lyric reading, story sharing podcast that is the one, the only Set Listing Bruce. Set Listing Bruce is part of the Southgate Media podcast group. The theme for Set Listing Bruce was written by David Rosen, used by permission.